Yo, we're still riding the blue wave. Shout to Zohar Madamni. Hope I got the name right for winning. And Democrats, hold the line. Hold the line. All right. I've been seeing a lot of these conversations happen about the conversation between Mehdi Hassan and Charlamagne God. Matter of fact, you're going to see it with me. Let's get into it.
Trump. That is not the energy that's coming, especially from young people. It's because he is offering a different sort of politics, a different sort of vision, somebody who is willing to stand with working people. He began his speech last night talking about the working class, which, again, many Democrats have not talked about for a long time. Plattner is, Bernie does, AOC does, and now Mamdani. So
this is post-election of Zohar Madamni, the mayor race in New York City, mayoral race. I don't know what the word is. Mayor race. And this is, like, what a victory. What a victory. Something about the most votes in 60 years. This video is going to break down, demystify all the fears that people have with Zoran gaining power, and Mehdi Hassan is a perfect person to break this all down for us.
I hope they take the right lessons, but I suspect they won't. I suspect they'll say, no, let's look at what the centrists did. And by the way, I mean, Abigail Spanberger, what did she run on?
I don't know.
Okay.
You was a Democrat.
That's my point.
Anti-Trump.
If she's the model, okay, but what does she run on? I mean, this is the thing. And by the way, Mikey Sherrill, who won in New Jersey, she may be a centrist. She ran on a very populist candidate. She said, you know what she said? She said, I'm going to freeze electricity rates.
That's right.
How come we didn't have national debates about that? That's unrealistic. You can't do that.
Right.
In fact, a lot of people say it's illegal for her to do that, whether she'll be able to call a state of... Point is, who cares? She said it. She's trying it. She showed that she gives a damn about what people care about. Right. And, the double standard is Mamdani, prove it. Nobody said that to Mikey Sherrill.
Yeah, we live in Jersey. That's all. I mean, I voted for Mikey Sherrill, and that's what I voted for. I voted for her because she was talking about affordability, because she was talking about lowering taxes, because she was talking about doing things like,
electric bills.
Like, that's
crazy.
My only reason for voting for her.
But isn't it interesting that she said she'd freeze electricity bills, and that has not been a national scale?
Right.
Because you only question the left-wing guy.
No, you're right. I do have a question. Have you spoke to Mamdani? The one thing that scares me about Mamdani is when you see the posts like that and you see the amount of hate he's getting.
Yes.
Do you speak to him about security and safety?
Yes.
And how does he feel about that? Because I've never seen so much hate. You can question somebody, but the hate that's coming out of these people, sometimes I feel like it's going to be worse than that. Have you talked to him about security and make sure?
So when I interviewed him just a few weeks ago, it was a day or 2 days after a guy had just been arrested for making death threats against his staff.
Jesus.
And that was before the last few weeks of this campaign, where they really ratcheted up.
Fear. Typical fear. As always. Fear, oh my God, it's a Muslim. Like, come on, y'all. Please.
This kind of radical Islamic coming. You see Ted Cruz was tweeting, he's a literal jihadist. I mean, let's just be clear.
Like, they all say the same thing. Communist, Lexist, Marxist, John Leninist. Like, they say a whole bunch of nonsense. They don't know the words. They never know the words they're using. They just be talking.
To people watching.
Trump said he hates Jews. I see somebody say he should be deported. Like, it's 100%.
They're putting up pictures of 9/11, right? They're using 9/11 against this guy who was, 9 years old on 9/11?
Yeah, I'm not looking at that. Wake up, New York. That's crazy.
Michael Bloomberg funded the super PAC that did that ad with the picture of his face over 9/11. These people should be ashamed of themselves. Andrew Cuomo went on a podcast and laughed when the host said, well, he'd be cheering on another 9/11. Ted Cruz, I mean...
And he didn't even at least go like, whoa, bro, don't be saying shit like that. Exactly, man. Andrew Cuomo, wow. What a legacy to ruin.
Weeks going on about Charlie Kirk, right? Last time I came on your show, I think it was the day before or the day of the killing of Charlie Kirk. We spent weeks of Republicans saying, if you say fascist, that means you're inciting hate again. If you call us a Nazi, you're going to get us killed. Look at your language. They have spent the last few weeks calling this guy a jihadist. I want to be clear to your viewers. A jihadist, in the eyes of the American political establishment, are the people on the planes, the 9/11 planes, is ISIS, is Boko Haram, is Al-Qaeda. That is what you are comparing him to. That's what you're saying he literally is. Republicans have said one after another, he's a terrorist, he's a jihadist, he's a communist, he hates Jews, he hates America, based on nothing. Of course that's going to incite hate. Of course there's going to be death threats. I do worry about his security. I hope he has good security now that he's...
This is the ugly side of America when they're when you got somebody wanting to make a difference and they don't want change. They don't want someone who doesn't look like them trying to change the way they live. That's all it is.
He's the mayor. Before he was the candidate, I think he had a couple of NYPD guys. I hope they have a lot of security. It's actually, it's scary, the level of Islamophobic. I talk to a lot of Muslims. I am Muslim. Wherever I go, I was in Texas at the weekend. Previous week, I was in California. Wherever I go and speak to Muslims, everyone agrees that the Islamophobia now is even worse.
9/11. That's crazy.
Why? Just
because they've had a 20-year head start to ratchet this stuff up.
Dang.
They're well organized, they're well funded, and they are petrified. I mean, you see the reactions last night from all.
This is what keeps us stuck. Propaganda, the fear. When someone not of white descent comes in and says, "Oh, I can fix the problem," fear immigrants. You fear him. You fear his lineage. You fear, just fear, man. Same thing that, of course, man.
All the kind of Daily Wire guys and all those guys like, New York's not a real city anymore. It doesn't contain real Americans. I mean, white supremacists are much more emboldened and much more organized than they were under George Bush. I mean, just a reminder, I loathe George Bush. The man should be in The Hague. Dick Cheney died yesterday. I did not shed a tear. But George Bush, after 9/11, even George Bush went to a mosque and said, Islam is peace. Let's not blame all Muslims for what happened. Can you imagine Donald Trump doing that today? Of course not. None of these Republicans would. And they are waiting for him to kind of pin more stuff on him. The hate is...
Same hatred they gave Obama. Same hatred they gave Obama. Whenever. And you can't find one thing. But Trump can do what the fuck he wants to do. He can hurt them, literally hurt them with his policies, with his concept of concept of plans. You know. But
it's out of control, and the hypocrisy from these people who spent the last month telling us, tone down the language, don't get us killed, and they're doing this stuff. It's I worry.
What do you say to Madamni, though? And I would love to ask him this question. For Jewish people who have real fear, right? Or for, Cuban. I was talking to a couple of my Cuban friends last night, and they was like, he's a communist. I'm looking at it now. He's a communist. It's so obvious. Those that have not been affected by communism don't see it and don't care to see it. He's selling an unrealistic dream to unfortunately ignorant people and people who are easily swayed. It's all BS. A guy who's never worked a day in his life living off mommy's money. Fidel Castro was charismatic and made promises. And when he took the reins, he killed his number two and declared he was Marxist. Cuba's been in the shits ever since. What do you say to those people? How do you tell Madamni to handle those people?
I would say to Cuban Americans, in good faith, Cuban Americans who worry about communism in Cuba, I would say, I don't remember Fidel Castro's platform being fast and free buses, freeze the rents, universal childcare. To go back to how we began the discussion, like that is not communism. Like you got to go get a dictionary or educate yourself about what communism is. Zoran Mamdani is not a communist. He's a democratic socialist. He is what Bernie Sanders is. And in this country, by the way, democratic socialism is not even real socialism. It's basically European social democracy. It's what the Scandinavians have. You know who has universal childcare? Finland, Iceland, Denmark. Sweden. These countries have universal childcare. They're very nice places, very mild places. Go on holiday, Americans. Go to Sweden. It is not communist Cuba. Like the kind of, again, the incendiary rhetoric. And by the way, I would argue that that's actually a very good position for Mamdani to be in. They know the socialist stuff doesn't work anymore because people are like, we quite like that. So now, have you noticed they ratcheted up?
Because people understand what the word social. People actually look up what the word socialist and go, yeah, it's not that bad. You realize I had somebody I know who said, yo, I'm not liberal. I'm like, just look up the word liberal and you realize you're a liberal. He was a diehard, I'm not liberal, fuck the liberals, because they program you to make you feel that. And then when you read the definition, the pure definition of what it was, oh, I am a liberal. Damn, you are like most. I tell people all the time, don't let these people fool you with these words, man. They don't know what the fuck they're saying. You look up the definition of what a liberal is, right? Willing to respect or accept a behavior or opinions are different from one's own, open to new ideas. Relating to or denoting a political and social philosophy that promotes individual rights, civil liberties, democracy, and free enterprise. Stop it, man. It's people, man.
The communist. Trump said on 60 Minutes, he's not a socialist, he's a communist. So they've even ratcheted that up because they know their attacks aren't working. It's so cynical. And on the anti-Semitism front, last night in his speech, he said again, he said, I will stand with Jewish New Yorkers against the scourge of anti-Semitism. He said it again. I interviewed Brad Lander last night, who was one of the main guys who endorsed him during the race, one of his top allies, Jewish American, standing up to this stuff. It's all BS. I would point out, by the way, 1 in 3 Jewish Americans, according to the exit poll, Jewish New Yorkers voted for Mamdani, right? A majority didn't. But 1 in 3 voted, a significant minority of Jewish people. This is not a monolithic community, the Jewish community. Like any community, there are different views. And 1/3 of Jews in New York said, you know what? We like Zoran Mamdani. We don't buy the BS about Zoran Mamdani. And I've said this many times to people. Show me the one anti-Semitic statement he's made. Show me one. Just one statement. There's not one.
They was pointing to rap lyrics. I can't remember what the lyrics are, but they was telling me these rap lyrics.
No, there was rap lyrics about he was supporting a group of Muslims who had been detained at the time. It was a very controversial case during the War on Terror, during the Bush.
That's why I enjoy Madamni. That's why I enjoy Mehdi Hassan, man. He just knows. He already researched everything. Obviously, you do your double check, fact check, make sure, because he could be wrong too. He can't be wrong. He's not perfect, but he just knows his shit.
We're accused of channeling money to Hamas. That's a civil liberties issue. You can disagree or agree with it. That was his position. I challenge anyone to find me a statement from Zoran Mamdani where he says something anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic. In fact, it's the opposite. He spends his time cherishing diversity. He is the diversity candidate. It was Andrew Cuomo who went on MSNBC and confused Eugene Daniels with Jonathan Capehart. Two black men got them the wrong way around and said, well, diversity is not, that's not our strength, and all this crap that we're hearing. So it's so cynical, the weaponization of anti-Semitism against, let's be honest, it's not about anti-Semitism, it's about the fact that he's anti-Israel. The fact that he's a critic of Israel. And it's a conflation of the two. He's very unapologetic about his criticism of Israel. That's what pissed all these people off.
Let me ask you about that, because I did CNN last night with Ben Shapiro, and he referred to him as anti-Israel. And I was like, is it fair to say he's anti-Israel, or is he anti the Israeli government that is, committing war crimes in Gaza?
Well, he's definitely anti that, as every person with a heart should be. If you're not anti this Israeli government, you're a sociopath. But in terms of the actual, they would argue, let me just be fair.
I like when you're a sociopath. It's just like that. Just like that. Mehdi Hassan, y'all, ladies and gentlemen.
To the critics. The critics would say he is anti-Israel because when he was asked, does it have a right to exist as a Jewish state? He says he believes it has a right to exist with equality for everyone. And this goes to the debate around Zionism and the nature of a Jewish state. Zoran Mamdani's position is, I'm an American. I believe in equal rights for everyone. I want that everywhere. Israel doesn't have that. Palestinians aren't all first-class equal citizens in Israel, even inside of Israel. So that's what I support. The funny thing is, he also says that about Saudi Arabia. He says that about India, right? He's criticized the Indian government for its nationalism, ethno-nationalism. He's against ethno-nationalism. We're Americans. We should all be against ethno-nationalism. So it's all exaggerated, I think, a lot. But you're right. Fundamentally, he's against genocide in Gaza, as are most Americans, as are...
We all should be. And the fact that Jewish people themselves think this, like, stop it, bro. Like, come on now.
Again, not a monolithic community. But that's what really annoyed Bill Ackman. That's what annoyed Ben Shapiro. Not anything to do with anti-Semitism. That's all been completely cynically weaponized against him. And you'll see that as mayor. People will be fine.
I got another question about the government shutdown.
You'll be fine. He's talking about people that's going around saying New York City's destroyed and everything. Bro. Same hatred with Obama, man. This country does this, man. But it's going to embrace diversity once and for all, because that's what it's meant to be. Enough with white supremacy. Enough with the hatred. Enough with the doubt. Enough, man. Enough.
Yeah. The ACA premiums have already gone up. They're set for the year. Democrats, we appreciate the effort, but isn't it time to reopen the government?
I mean, who's in charge of the government?
Republicans, but you still need those 8 Democrat votes to vote.
Yeah, because of the filibuster they now want to get rid of, by the way.
Yeah.
Having spent years saying...
And by the way, I don't care who's responsible for it. It's a bipartisan. It's going to take a bipartisan.
That's my problem, that attitude. I don't care who's responsible. You have to care who's responsible for it. You have to care what the reason behind it, what it happens. It can't be, just put it on Democrats. That's the problem. That's how Democrats, and hopefully people finally catching it. You blame the Democrats when you out of context. But when you put in context, Democrats are literally in the front line holding it down to make sure that 20 million of Americans do not lose their health care. Because Republicans, who have a power of everything, does not want to negotiate a deal because they don't want to continue paying for the ACA or the subsidies. They would rather kick them off. So if you reopen the government, we'll give you a deal. We'll promise to give you a deal to what was it? It's to help with the SNAP benefits and everything. To help with the travels and to help with aviation and everything. We're gonna trust you. You're gonna keep your promise after you actively violated the Constitution time and time again. Try to supersede the courts. You don't even want to follow the law. You want to move like a dictator, like you say, and we're gonna trust you to do the right thing? No. Come negotiate a deal like you're supposed to, because that's what it is. My bad, y'all.
That's never. But isn't it time to reopen the government?
Yeah, of course it's time to reopen the government. But the Republicans in charge of the government. You cannot
But
have
they still need those 8 Democratic votes.
but you cannot have a political system that always relies on only the Democratic Party being the responsible party. You just can't. America cannot survive. We've created. It's like having toddlers, right? The Republican Party are a bunch of toddlers, and everyone else has to be the adults in the room, and that cannot continue indefinitely. And some bad Democrats have drawn a line, even with Schumer and Jeffries, where they're saying, you know what? It's up to Republicans to govern responsibly. It's up to Republicans to stick to their pledges.
But we know they can't.
But there you go. That's the problem.
But we know they can't. The reason I say it,
with the greatest respect, my friend, you're part of the problem. You can't say we know they can't because that.
You're part of the Mediasan. I commend you. Finally, call it out. But you know they can't. So what the fuck are they doing there then? The blue wave is here. You can't stop it. My bad, Joe. Vanguard, Mediasan.
Immediately gives Republicans a pass and puts the entire American democracy, American government, American economy only in the hands of one party should have to deal with it.
I agree, but we know Republicans aren't going to do the right thing. Rent is due. You know, they're talking about cutting SNAP benefits. People got child care to pay, light bill, car notes. We need groceries. We need the Democrats to say, okay, we know y'all not going to give us no concessions. We fought the good fight. We're going to vote to reopen the government.
The problem with that argument is, if you're worried about human suffering, the counter argument is that reopening the government on Republican terms increases human suffering.
Yes, but the elections in 2026. So now you can say Republicans are responsible for your human suffering. Republicans are the reason you got high health care. So let's change this in 2026.
I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but a lot of the stuff that Trump did in the big, beautiful bill, all the horrific stuff, they very smartly delayed that till after the midterms kick in.
The premiums already kicked in.
The premiums, a lot of the pain. So look, there's a strategic argument for doing what you're saying. I don't believe, I've been around long enough to know that this always ends with the Republicans benefiting from Democrats rolling over, and I'm glad to see Democrats not rolling over. Now,
I'm with you, but it's hard to see all this human suffering.
I agree, but human suffering cuts both ways.
These food banks are so, the lines of the food banks are so long.
You have to put the energy towards the Republicans and figure it out. This is something that has to be learned. Sometimes you gotta, when it comes down to it, y'all, this is not about Charlamagne, it's about that mentality. Sometimes people have to learn the hard way. Sometimes the voters themselves have to pay attention to what's going on. I can't tell you how many people I know that be like, yo, they stressed out about when the voters keep voting the same people in, knowing it's going to be problematic anyway when it comes to a certain party. We can't keep bailing them out and keep blaming me. It's a toxic relationship.
100%.
You know, we got government workers calling up here every day.
But the fact that, but the fact that you and I are talking about Democrats and not Donald Trump starving Americans and saying, he said at the weekend, he goes, I will not, a court, let's just be very clear, a court has said he must release the funds to pay for SNAP. And he said, I'm not going to do it.
That's crazy.
That should be the conversation. It's not should Democrats open the government, it's should Donald Trump follow the law.
No, I'm just saying the government should be reopened. We just know it takes a bipartisan effort to do it. Yes, Republicans are the main issue here, but we can't act like it, 8 Democrats need to vote.
It'll be interesting to see if they get rid. He's now pushing for the filibuster nuking. It'll be interesting to see if they get rid of that filibuster.
You can't act like 8 Democrats. Yeah, we can, because the 8 Democrats are trying. You're not that mentality is crazy. You're not even speaking about the other side of that. If they open the government, 20 million Americans get kicked off. It's the choice between the poor and the sick, the hungry and the sick. Government, the government who's in power, the people in power, the Republicans are making a choice for the Democrats, choose between the poor and the sick. And they're saying, no, we won't choose. Come with a better deal. Negotiate, and they can. The fact that they have emergency funding in the first place for a situation like this, and they don't even want to give it. Stop it, man. Stop it.
Of course, in the long run, that will help Democrats.
They had a good night last night. Reopen the government. Let's reopen the government. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with you, but I'm saying it's Republicans who have to reopen the government.
It's a bipartisan effort.
I mean, they control the House, the Senate, the Supreme Court, the
White
House.
But it's still a bipartisan
8 Democrats.
I'm not saying, I'm not even saying Democrats are the problem. I'm just saying it is a bipartisan effort.
Yeah.
I'm saying give people their money.
And I'm saying there's a cost to doing it. I'm saying there's a cost to doing that.
And where it's kind of disingenuous is if by some chance Republicans do make concessions, aren't you going to give the Democrats credit?
In what?
If the Democrats make concessions on health care.
If the Democrats or Republicans.
If Republicans make concessions on health care, aren't you going to give the Democrats credit?
I mean, yes.
So you got to give them the same credit now that with the government being shut down.
Yes, that they have a role to play. Yes.
Yes.
But it's about, but the problem is, whose responsibility is it? That's the point. I don't think, again, it goes back to my thing. I can't treat Republicans like children and toddlers. I don't think American democracy can survive if we only have a two-party system and one of the two parties is completely, we just don't take seriously. They can do whatever the hell they want. They can break any law, ignore any judge, shut down any government program, end USAID. And again, the costs of reopening the government, the costs of conceding on the Medicaid cuts and all of that stuff. Your point is, well, next year they can point in the midterms. But what about the suffering on that front till the midterms? What about the people who are going to lose health care between now and the midterms?
I agree with that, but man, that's one high bill to pay as opposed to not being able to pay your rent, not being able to pay your car, not being able to pay your child care. Even if you have health care, now you still can't pay that because you're not making any money.
I agree. It's a horrific situation. It's why I wish people had not reelected Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But we are where we are. We got Donald Trump.
Again, horrible situation to be in. But why are we in that situation? Why? Sometimes you gotta just. I did the best I could. Probably a lot of people like you who can relate to me did the best they could to explain to people electing Donald Trump is a bad idea, and they did it anyway. And here is the consequences. Elections have consequences, especially if you're not paying attention. Get to the root of the problem. Why are we here? Why do we have to choose between the poor and the hungry? The sick, between the sick and the hungry? Why do we have to choose that? Why is that there? Who?
As a minimum, maybe longer, as you and I fear.
And Democrats have to be the adults in the room because of that reason. They just have to, Mehdi. I know we don't want them to be. It shouldn't be like that, but it is.
No, but it isn't. Because I think you can. We have to change the way we talk about politics, the way we organize, the way the media covers this stuff. Because the minute you do this, okay, let me just give you, let's say they open the government tomorrow. Let's say there's 8 Democrats, fill up, whatever. They come in, government open up. What precedent does that set? It just means that Republicans will keep doing this again and again, knowing you've got 3 more years of pain and suffering.
Yes.
You wouldn't do this in a relationship. You wouldn't just say, you're gonna do it anyway. Fuck it. Let me let you take advantage of me anyway. Even though it's gonna be more suffering anyway. Or we can solve the problem right now and force and make sure that the Republicans come to a better negotiation deal. Open the government. Mike Johnson opened that shit. If he doesn't want to do it, that's on him. People are going to suffer. True.
But hopefully, with the next, year, you can say, look at your health care benefits. Your health care benefits are high as hell. It's because of Republicans. 2026, y'all need to change this.
So the Republican Party runs a completely opposite manual when they're in opposition. They do everything they can, obviously, to not make government work. They don't care if people are starving and can't pay their rent. But then they electorally benefit from that, right? They benefit from saying, the government didn't work. Things didn't get through. And Democrats, unfortunately, I think are going to have to use that playbook, as cynical and ruthless as it has to be.
Jesus Christ.
I don't see another alternative. You tell me what the alternative is. You're hoping that the government opens up and things go back to normal, whatever normal is, and then people blame the Republicans. I'm not sure I see it.
Yeah, I would rather the government be open, people be getting paid, and we're having these arguments about healthcare and Republicans fucking shit up without, people having to miss paychecks.
But if the government's opened up, this is a Democratic argument. I'm not a Democrat, but the Democratic Party argument is if the government's opened up, you're going to have huge costs in the healthcare world.
Once again, that's one bill as opposed to people not getting no checks to pay light.
Not just one bill. These are people that are literally, that bill can make the difference between people staying in homes or getting the proper medication to stay alive. But again, I'm not debating. This is what I'm saying. This debate should not even have to exist. This debate exists for what problem? One purpose, one issue, one party. The other party is trying to stop it and trying to get them to come to the table to make a better deal, but they don't want to. For the American people. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Rent, daycare, like no money coming in.
Yeah,
is horrible.
It's an effed up situation in this country.
Yeah.
We shouldn't. By the way, can I just point this out to people who are listening and watching? I'm from the UK. I'm an immigrant to the US. No other country functions like this. There's no other Western democracy that has government shutdowns. There's no other Western democracy that has debt ceilings. This is all artificial crap that's in our system that needs to be fixed. Again, when the Democrats are in office, they need to fix this stuff so that we don't have this constant cycle of this nonsense. The people are like, this is why people hate politics, to go back to what I said at the start.
Well, at least we got people like you here to bring some clarity to it.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen.
That was great. I hope people check it out. I know people think that way, but don't do it. Hold up. I want to know what y'all think. Should the Democrats hold the line, or should they just open it and let the Republicans do what the fuck they want to do? I want to know what y'all think. Comment below. You know it's your boy. I appreciate the support. Like and subscribe. It goes a long way for me. Thank you. See you on the next video.